And with that, I want to welcome you to the spiritual sanctum of light. So I want to share a little something with you before we get into our lesson. And this comes from Swinburne Climbers' The Mysteries of Osiris, Ancient Egyptian Initiation. And it's been an interesting read. But this is something that I found very interesting because it reminded me of something else. And he writes that nature and the things of nature are given to be comprehended or understood. In other words, the things of the Spirit can be comprehended only by the Spirit. And this is where words are important, because if we look back at Genesis, Spirit is that animating force, because in Genesis, God breathed the Spirit into Adam or into us, making us a living soul. So this is incorrect, because they've taken spirit and soul and they've made them interchangeable. And because of that, a lot of things are confused, misunderstood. But this did remind me of something in Titus. Well, I say Titus, could be Titus. But anyway, and this is the first chapter, verse 15, where it reads that to the pure, all things are pure. But to those who are corrupted and do not believe, nothing is pure. In fact, both their minds and consciences are corrupted. Now, corrupt means changed. And in this instance, change would mean that their mind is not focused. There is doubt. So you could think of this as those who are of one mind, who are confident in themselves, who are without doubt, experience all things without doubt, with one mind or whole. And those who are not of one mind, meaning have doubt, cannot experience nature, being the expression of Deus or the divine. And because they have doubt, they cannot experience the divine, because their mind, their thinking is fragmented. So when you are whole, then you are whole with the divine. Make sense?
Yeah, I've been thinking along these lines like all week long about our brains and our neurons and how some people's brains are just wired so they can only think within I don't want to say one way,
A certain framework.
within a certain framework, and they can't comprehend anything outside. And I'm thinking that's a lot of our,
That's most people, I think.
a lot of the political differences that we're experiencing. It's like these people aren't evil or bad or sinful or stupid, which is one of my favorite words. But it's like they can't comprehend outside of their framework. And they can't understand my framework. Conservative really can't understand a progressive, and vice versa in many instances.
Now take that thought and expand it, because the way that Beth presented this framework, brains wired differently. Sociopaths, their brains are wired differently. Psychopaths, their brains are wired differently. Down syndrome, their brains are wired differently. Autistics, people who experience seizures, and she's prone to seizures. Yes, she's epileptic. And the first time I met her was at Ray, I can't think of his last name. He held a class at the Vine Street Church, Ray Vanet. That was the first time I met her. She had an episode right there and on the sidewalk. And when she stood up, I saw someone else looking out. And I've always wondered about that. What is she seeing? What reality is she experiencing? Because go ahead.
Sandy and I have done things before, and once I took her to Indianapolis to the hospital and stuff. Then we went to the zoo, and she had one of those episodes. We were watching one of the fishes or whatever, and we were watching it, and a show, and she had, and I looked at her and I started doing, what do I call it, present moment stuff. I said, what color shirt am I wearing? Is this color red? What are they doing down there? Is that a male?
You were
Is that a
calling her
female? And then all of
to
a
the
sudden
present.
she looked at me, she said, oh my God, how long was I out? She remembered nothing. But she was, what time is it? How long was it at this time? I'm like, it's only like 4 minutes or something. And she's like, what? Because she told me that she used to be in her apartment sleeping or whatever, and she would wake up miles and miles and miles away from her house, all dirty and everything, and somebody would like be there helping her or something, like trying to figure out what happened to her. So it was pretty bad, and I just said, oh, something, it's called a locational. Church of Scientology does that stuff, locationals.
So yeah, so the whole idea is, we talked about one of these writings where it was many gods. I think we talked about it. It's hard for me to keep track of what I write and what I teach, but the whole idea of many gods comes back to our perceptions of reality. And everyone perceives reality differently. The only common reality that we agree upon is this is a lamp. That's it. Everything else is subjective. Literally, everything else is subjective. Crossing the street, looking both ways before you cross the street is subjective. It's common sense to look both ways, but what you may see, Sharon, may be different from what I see. I didn't see that car coming, but Sharon did and yanked me back.
Oh, good. There it is.
But that's how subjective reality truly is. This is why we cannot make these assumptions that God, Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, Buddha, we cannot make these assumptions that they're all the same, because they are not. They are as individual as we are people. Individual people. Our perspectives are so different. That's why there can never be a universal truth. There can only be an accepted truth. And then when you test it, if it doesn't fit, you throw it out. Makes sense? Now I've gone into a teaching.
That's okay, it's probably meant to go there.
But let me transition that into today's lessons. Now,
You had to pull me back. Oh, thank you.
now what Beth said earlier about meanings of words and everything is very, very important. Whenever you read the teachings of Jesus, if you have an AI assistant in your browser, I use Copilot. Now, when you read the teachings of Jesus, you have to keep this in mind. Now, the common language of the Hebrews was Aramaic. That was the common language. The Hebrew language was, you could consider that the higher language. Think of it as Latin. Scholarly, or priestly. It was typically reserved for the rabbis. And then you have Greek, because the New Testament was written in Greek. But when you read these things, with maybe the exception of Paul, because Paul was both Greek and Hebrew, so we really don't know if he was writing in Greek to begin with or writing and teaching in Aramaic. But we do know that Jesus most likely taught in Aramaic. So when you review those teachings, you plug in to Copilot, you ask Copilot, what are the nuances of this word in Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek? Because the likelihood of somebody who was Greek listening in, understanding Aramaic, would have wrote what they heard in Greek. And Greek, in some instances, is very different from Aramaic. Sacrifice, for instance. Sacrifice in Greek is currying favor with the gods, or currying favor with God. However, sacrifice in Aramaic is becoming closer to God. Same word, different meanings, nuances behind it. So when we read in the Old Testament about sacrifices, it's a ritual intended to bring one closer to their God. Now that may shed some different light on a lot of writings. So when we look at the Lord's Prayer, which is what this is, now I'm going to say this is a version of that because at one time somebody presented the Lord's Prayer saying it was in Aramaic, and they read it as, "O cosmic birther," which is not "O source of all." So I'm going to say this is a version of the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. And we begin with, "O source of all who dwells in the eternal realms." Now, if somebody can think of the passages in the Lord's Prayer, and we can compare the two. And in this instance, it begins with what?
Our
Father who
art in heaven.
is in heaven. Now, heaven in Aramaic is the dwelling of God, the throne of God. And what was it that Jesus taught? When you look upon me, you see the Father. Because the Father is in me, and I am in you. So that tells us that heaven is within us.
I used to tell people, I said, heaven's here on earth. I said, you can obtain heaven here on earth. And they're like, you're crazy. You can't do that. Well, you can. I said, but there's things that can take you away from feeling that way and living that way. And that's when, you know, I said, you're messing with my heaven. Stop it.
And you would be correct. You would be correct. Because in the Kabbalah, it is, in the Kabbalah, the name of God is not God. It is, he is referred to as, or rather, the divine is referred to as the unspeakable one, the unknowable. God has no name. Yahweh is I can't think of it at the moment, so I'm not going to touch it. But Lord is not a title in Aramaic. Lord is protector. Which is very different. What was that? Our Father who is in heaven?
Hallowed be thy name.
Yes, yes. Hallowed would be thy name. Here it is, may your name be held holy. So, O source of all, which for the Kabbalah teachings, and even in the Gnostic teachings, is where everything stems from. Everything flows outward. And think of it like this. Our behaviors are reflections of our emotions. Therefore, they flow outward. They radiate or emanate outward. Something to keep in mind, who dwells in the eternal realms. Now, in the Kabbalah, we are not caught up in just the one life. They see life as being progressive. And it's not necessarily that we have to die to be reborn. In their teachings and everything, we are reborn every time our thinking or our framework, our beliefs shift. We are reborn every time that happens. So let your kingdom unfold within us. And how does that go? Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Okay, well now, you see, this is very different. Let your kingdom unfold within us. Very different. Because again, this heaven, it places heaven squarely within us. The temple of God is within us. Or you could say, our flesh is the temple. And God resides within us, consciousness. But there is a consciousness and a subconsciousness. Two different consciousnesses. And the goal of these mystery schools is to help us bridge the one with the other. To help us understand that is what it is to be of one mind. Your consciousness is connected to your consciousness. You could call it good morals. Because if you do something and it doesn't feel right and you do it anyway, who's at fault? You are, not the person that convinced you to act otherwise. This is the whole idea of accountability. This is why people shy away from a lot of this, because if they become accountable, then they're responsible. And what's the favorite cliche here? You pass the buck. You don't admit to anything.
That's above my pay grade.
Yes, above your pay grade. Exactly. Milgram did some wonderful experiments on this. He wanted to understand patriotism. He wanted to understand how the Nazis could do what they did to other people. He wanted to understand that. And what he discovered in these experiments was that the further away authority is, the more likely you are to do what you're not supposed to do, and attribute it to this authority that's far away. Think of it as God. If God is all out there and I'm just doing the will of God, there's
I was following orders.
so if God is out here, okay, then it's okay. I'm doing the will of God while you are shooting someone. This is God's will. And why is that okay? Because you've got God outside of you. The moment you accept that God is within you, everything changes. Now you are accountable to God directly. And that can be frightening. So, pardon?
So many people. My God, what a few people here on that.
Mhm.
And they're like, I don't know. I don't know the Bible. I've never read it all the way through. I don't know.
It's probably a good thing.
But,
In today's vernacular, yes, the Bible is dangerous.
and some people just, just over and over and over and read, and, your passages and passages and passages to me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know, I never read the Bible all the way through. If I did, I forgot. I was in Catholic school, but I don't remember. I had a brain injury and I forgot everything I knew.
I use that one too.
Do you use that one too?
So let your kingdom unfold within us. In other words, make me responsible. Make me accountable. Let your desire be done. Now that can be dangerous. I think it's allow your will to be done.
Thy
Yeah.
will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Right. So on earth as it is in heaven, it goes, let your desire be done as in the unseen realm, so also in the world of form. Where is the unseen realm?
Within you.
Exactly. It is within you. And so as you think, as you do, so it is in the unseen realms and in the world of form. See that connection there? Does that make sense?
What's the world of form?
Ah, you see that person sitting over there across from you?
Right.
That is the world of form.
Mhm.
Your behavior is a reflection of your emotions. And your emotions react to what's going on within you. If you become angry, it's not because of someone outside of you aggravating you. It's your perception of their actions being aggravating because they create a dissonance You don't understand, and what you don't understand is dissonance.
What's dissonance?
Think of it as a disturbance. It makes you uncomfortable. Somebody's always talking down to you. That's uncomfortable, isn't it? It is to me. So I assume it is to most other people as well. And so we react to it. And our reaction is due to our perception of what they are doing. So, as it is within the hidden realm, so is it in the outer realm.
Mhm.
See how that works? That makes sense?
Yeah.
And I like this one. Give us this day the bread of life. What was it that travelers of that time, even later times, before refrigerators were a common thing, what was it that they often took with them?
Bread.
Bread. Bread was known as the meat that did not spoil. And what else is it that does not spoil?
Wine.
Wine becomes vinegar.
Vinegar.
Oh, it goes vinegar. Okay.
Water.
Water becomes stagnant.
Breath.
You're getting close.
Air. Well, they.
You're getting close. Truth.
Oh.
Truth does not spoil. Truth does not go bad. So give us this day our truth. This is why you're also asking to untangle the cords of our errors, or forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors.
I have a hard time with that one.
Which one is that?
Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors.
Well, think of it like this.
I mean,
Okay.
that one was. Sorry. It just seems to me like. What would I call it? It's an effect. It's like
Mhm.
it's like. God, it's in here, but it's just not coming out. The something effect. What is that word?
Well, think of it like this. Forgive yourself so that you can forgive others. Because who is it that we wrong the most?
Those.
Exactly. Yourselves.
I know what I'm saying. A domino effect.
Yes.
It's like a domino, and it's like. That makes any sense.
Yes, it does. Because when you're able to forgive yourself, which is, let me see, untangling the cords of your errors, when you're able to forgive yourself, that effect carries over, because when you understand, I did this not because this person made me mad. I did this because I didn't understand what this person was trying to explain to me. Therefore, if you're able to release that sense of guilt, you can release what it is that you hold against others. Oh, it wasn't their fault. It was my fault. because I didn't understand what they were presenting. When you're able to do that, the anger and resentment that you held onto, that you directed towards them, is no longer there because it's dissipated. As it dissipates with you, so also are the strands that you hold of the faults of others. Do you understand?
Mhm.
And this is a good one. I don't recall what comes after that, but do not let us be lost in forgetfulness.
And lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil.
Right. Guide us through the fires of transformation. Do not let us be lost in forgetfulness. What might that mean? It's time for me to take a break and let some of you speak for a little bit.
Well, don't get lost in forgetfulness. Is well, not being mindful, because we're all going to repeat. Everything's a cycle. So when this circumstance comes up with maybe some differing details, if I'm not mindful, I don't recall, wait a second, I experienced this once before and I behaved this way, which didn't work. If I don't recall that, if I don't remember that, if I'm not conscious of it, I'm doomed to repeat it. And it's not going to work. And I'm going to be fretful and angry and sad and whatever, instead of, let's try this. Let me see it a different way. Oh, if I look at it from this point of view, it's like, why am I getting so hot and bothered? I'm going to look at it like this, and that way I'm not hot and bothered.
Good, excellent.
Well, I work on this. I've been working on family relationships
Oh, no. Okay, but
ever since COVID.
you might be working on family relationships in a positive way. Now, when Philip mentioned that, and I'm listening to what you're thinking, and I was talking to Philip the other day, and I said, Philip, I said, I've become mean. And he's, remember when I said that to you? And I said, well, like, I'll think if somebody, let me give an example. I met this guy, and he was like kind of put things out there, like a relationship, like a real solid relationship. And I looked and I stopped and I went inside and I said, do not look at me for any commitment for anything. I said, I take things one day at a time, and I'm not making any commitments with you. And he's like, what? So the more, and it was hard to go deep in there and be totally 100% honest, because I thought I was taking care of self. I was taking care of my 97-year-old mom. I was like 76% with her, each week. And I'm like, I started getting blunt with people, and I would go inside and things would just pop out. And people started saying, you're mean.
No, you're not. You're setting boundaries.
And I'm like, so I've become this mean person, but it hasn't stopped. What's the best I can do with the unconditional love? And I don't know. That's all I can do with it.
Those are very good boundaries, because you're letting people know this is what I'm capable of doing now, and this is what I'm not capable of doing.
Mhm.
Please respect that, and that's a good thing. That is not mean. That's a boundary, and that's
Yeah.
healthy.
And I don't think I ever really had boundaries before. And so when I sit there and I go inside, and women understand it more than men do, I think.
Go going inside. Okay. And then reflecting that outside. Okay, here we go with the fires of transformation. You are making changes. And that's what this is saying. Guide me through this change. Help me do the right thing. And the only way you can do the right thing is by going within and bringing what you discover within without. For you are the ground of the kingdom. What is it that we look for when we go within? What resides within us?
Yes.
Answers. The kingdom, the throne, heaven, God. You go within until you make that connection. You are talking to God. You go within and you're talking to God. We can call it your authentic self, your higher consciousness, your Christ self. You can call it whatever you want to, but you're talking to God. And when you move past the idea of consulting your higher self, your authentic self, when you move past that, that's when that connection begins. And that is the grounding of the kingdom. You make a complete circuit. Think of it like that. For electricity to flow, it needs to be grounded. It not only needs a place to go, but it has to have a place to return. And what does that mean? The connection with the divine flows in both directions. The power and the glory. Power is the ability to do. And you know what glory is? It's all that emanates from you. The power to do. This is what you are wanting to be guided to do. The power to act, the ability to act, to take what you envision within and to manifest it. It's not that you become God, but you become integrated. You've integrated God within you.
I don't know if this makes any sense. There's been times where I said, oh my, there's this universe and it's God. And some are the hands, some people are the hands, some people are the heart, some people are the brain, some people are the mind, some people are the feet, some people are the legs, some people are the arms. I said, we all have a different purpose, but we're all like in this puzzle that is just, we're a part of God. Does that make any sense?
Yes,
Oh,
it
yes,
does.
it does.
Yes, it does. It's the right path. It's the right path. So what are your thoughts, Sandy? Don't forget to unmute.
Sorry. I guess
Okay.
I was thinking that the ground, I guess the word that came to mind too was the substance, which is kind of maybe a similar thing, um, but I like the analogy of the current. So I think that's probably a better interpretation. Um,
What is currently?
Well, current
Well, the
Electricity,
electricity.
in order
Right,
for it
okay.
to flow, it has to have a ground,
Mm-hmm.
or you could call it a neutral.
Okay, I apologize, Sandy.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, I think I felt, I really like this prayer because I do think it is so much more accurate. Um, um, so I like this interpretation. It's great. Um, and what you said about the glory is all that emanates from you. I guess I never really thought about that word that way. But it makes sense. Glory, I don't know. It's hard to describe what the word glory means because I just see a lot of light and and
That's what it is.
infinite light maybe is what when I hear that word, it's a huge word. It's huge. So that I like but I never really thought about it, in its interpretation. So I like that. Yeah, I like that. That makes perfect sense now that you think about it. Perfect sense. Um, and I liked what you said about you integrate God within you because I think that's a good analogy too. Integrate is really an excellent word. Um, I yeah, I mean it just makes so much sense. It's like it's within is one word, but to integrate is I think it's more explanatory than just saying God is within you. I think the integration is just a better um interpretation, I think. I think.
And we see that with Genesis. The heaven within, the earth without. Hermetic teachings, as above, so below. However, its correct phrasing is as within, so without. As a person thinks, so they are, so they do. That's what that
Because it will be in the
indicates.
beginning, it will be in the end.
Right. And what is it in the beginning? Heaven and earth. In the end, earth and heaven. But the thing is, there's no place that you can say, yes, that's where it begins. It's like the storm analogy we were given earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the conditions are there for the storm, but it may not happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts, Beth?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I like doing things like this, these kind of exercises. Because it is a different perspective, as you said earlier, deconstructing the beliefs we were raised with. And it becomes more personal. And yes, I'm responsible for all that's happening to me. I got to share something that happened to me this week. This is probably outside the realm, but Philip will find a way that where it's connected.
That's okay, I've been doing that the whole time I've been here.
So, and I have an old cat. She's very arthritic. And I've been delaying taking her into the vet. But she got on my bed. She didn't often get on my bed because her heating pad is on the living room couch, which is where she is 26 hours out of 24. But she was on my bed. So I just leaned down over the bed so I could be face to face with her. And she opened her eyes. I'm just doing or talking to her. And there was this shift, a shift in my perspective, but and it's like, I'm not looking at my cat. My cat's not looking at me. It's my mother. That cat looked at me with my mother's eyes. And it was my mother's eyes as she was on her deathbed. Just, I just stopped, and it's like, and I tried to hear any message, and I couldn't, but it's just, I was amazed that those were my mother's eyes. Not like they were the same color, not like they were the same shape, but it was that look. It was
That sensation, that
it was
emotion.
something.
When you said that, I had tingles go through my whole body. Whoa.
And it's like, there's a lesson in here somewhere, so I've got to say something on Sunday. It fell up to help me. So, well,
And
I guess
that's-
she
and
on
that-
your bed too.
How long ago was your mom passed away?
Are we going into our coming up on to 3 years?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, and that's, if I'm getting off target or not, but it was just, I was, all of a sudden, a girlfriend sent me something that I never watched yet on my phone after my mom passed away. This is where we go when we leave, this earth, this is what happens after we die. So I asked, what happens after we die? And there was this thing, and it was like, and I started watching it. It was very interesting, and it was about what happens to the spirit when, like the body will still be there. Because I was like, they just took her away, and I don't know when they start burning people and all that stuff. But because I don't know anything about that stuff, but it was explaining how, and it kind of shows somebody coming, they might look at their own body, they might be looking at the people around them, they might be, and they can go up to 3 days, and they can still be there. And there was a 3-day mark, and there was a 40-day mark, and then there was like this, and I took a photo of it, so just in case, and then I thought, I'm gonna come here today, because I was tired. I went out last night and danced and had fun, and I was tired, and I said, well, get up and go anyway. I'm gonna be a little bit late, but I wanted to be here. And so I hope you guys don't mind. And so when you're talking about that, it was talking about even, and then there's these different, like everybody has a different way to go. Some people might be, and it takes some people longer to detach from the earth, and some people detach a lot quicker, but then some people might go to schools, and they might be healed, because they're going just like they are here on this earth right now, and so there's lessons for them to learn and all kinds of stuff. And it was just, it was very interesting, but, I don't know, when you said that, because my mom recently passed, and those eyes, and it's hard.
Yeah, those are,
But to see it, and it's how like they can also still touch base with you, like maybe through your
yeah,
cat.
like a visit.
Like a visit through your cat. I guess that's where I was talking to. What do you think?
a lot of what you said there is spiritualist teachings. A lot of spiritualist teachings move around that. And something that just came to mind, because I'm exploring a Gnostic passage here. No, it's not a Gnostic passage. It came from the Zohar, so it's a Kabbalistic passage here about light and darkness. And typically, light is interpreted as knowledge, and darkness is interpreted as ignorance. But that's not the case in this particular passage. Light is light, you could say, is all that is intangible, and the darkness is all that is tangible. And the reason why the amount of time from a person leaving the body is because not only do they have to release the body, but the body has to release them.
Mhm.
And it's and it was also bringing up how the people around them, if they're holding on and like, please, I don't want you to go, don't go, don't go, don't leave me, I mean, I have siblings walk around.
As power.
And they said, did you tell her it's okay to go? And I'm like, well, no, I didn't tell her it was okay to go. So I go in the room and I communicated with her. And I said, Mom, I really don't know what happens when you go. But I actually told, I said, I do not want you to suffer. I said, and you always have permission for me to go. I never want to hold, I said, when you're ready to go, I said, we are going to be here with you while you go through this process. We are not leaving your side. I said, we'll be right here. I said, and we are going to love you. We're not going to let you do this alone. I don't know where that came from, but because she was just like a breathing machine. And I thought, my God, how long can she go through that? What's she holding on to? And I told her, I said, I don't, I said, I know. And in church, we are taught that, you're greeted by, your loved ones and your relatives, and maybe Dad might be there to greet you. I said, I really don't know. I said, but I also believe that, you'll have time to work on yourself. I said, and you're still going to be there. It's just going to be different. And and I don't remember everything I said, but and finally the nurse came in who was supposed to be there that day, and she said, oh, she's about ready to go. And she said, she's going to go sometime today. And she said, this is what she'll do. She'll take a breath and she'll go, and she'll stop. And then she'll start breathing again. And I don't know how many times she's going to do that, but then she'll just take her last breath and she won't do anything. And that lady left, and then my mom did it. We had to call her back in because she was in the car and left. And we were like, I said, she just needed somebody to tell her what to do. She didn't know what to do.
That it was okay. And
Yeah.
here's the thing. Why is that needed? Why do people need to hear, or rather, I should say, why do people need to be given permission to leave?
What?
Well, where do we look for validation?
And others.
In others. They validate us. Therefore, we need permission.
I don't know. By that time, I'll be so mean. I'm like, I'm ready to go.
Well, I'm not saying that everybody is like that,
Jesus.
but for the most part, even with animals, but it's different with animals because one, we don't speak their language. Two, there's more loyalty that is expressed than there is with people. And, and they've made that commitment to us. And the only one who can release them from that commitment is the one that they made that commitment to. It's like being released from service. And it's got nothing to do with us saying it's okay, but it has everything to do with them hearing that for whatever reason. I'm not going to pretend I know the reasons. All I can say is I told my brother I have to go take care of Mom. Do you understand? He nodded. And then I don't know if it was the next day or 2 days. I know a short time later, yeah, it was. It may have been the next day because I was working on the church when I got the call. And but anyway, he was devoted to my mother. I could only assume so because he called me one night drunk, saying, "Why didn't you call me when you took Mom to the hospital?" And I said, "Look, if you are that concerned, get your butt up here and take care of her." And he moved back to Michigan, from Texas to Michigan within 2 weeks.
Aw.
And he never went far from her after that, ever. So once I told him, I'm making an assumption here. Once I told him that I have to go take care of Mom, do you understand? He nodded, and it could have been permission for him to go. His obligation is now passed on to someone else. I can make that assumption. Is that correct? Who knows? But that's the idea there. So what are your thoughts, Sharon?
Oh, I like this prayer a lot because it really does put a whole new spin on the Lord's Prayer. We learned it, I still can, say it out loud and I still remember it. I can't remember other things, but I remember that. And but I like the definitions. They're much more comprehensible to me than the other was. The other was, it's just vague. And I know I've heard interpretations of it before, not like this, but I've heard interpretations of it before, but this is much more meaningful to me.
That's why religion, true religion, if you want to know what the true religion is, it's your religion. That is the true religion. What are your thoughts, Anita?
And this,
On
is
the
that what
whole,
we're asking?
on the whole discussion.
Mm.
This is your opportunity to ask questions if you have any.
I just think it's very interesting. Okay. I wouldn't know what questions to ask.
Well,
Not yet.
I'm always available, so anybody can contact me and say, "Hey, now that I thought about this doesn't make sense here. This is what I think it is. Am I right?" And I'll tell you something, 9 times out of 10, you are usually right. You are usually right. So trust yourself. And I want to thank you for your participation, your thoughts, and everything. It's been so rich. And I want to thank you for allowing me to share this with you. And we will take a little break here so you can use the restroom, get a refill,